From Central Indiana's #1 news source, this is Fox 59 Tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Fox 59 Tonight. I'm Cameron Ridle. We appreciate you downloading our Fox 59 Smart TV app. It's called Fox 59 now. You'll find it in the App Store on your Roku, Fire TV, Samsung TV, and on your Roku. Did I say that? Roku? Apple is the other one. Apple. Forgot about it. Can't forget about Apple. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss any of the conversations that we have every night at 8 o'clock here on Fox 59 Tonight. On the show today, we will talk, I guess, really about something that some people would say we can't talk about anymore, and that is equality. That is inclusion. That is a way to make life good for everybody. That's part of what I think you would find that they're trying to do at the Indianapolis Foundation, and it's a conversation that they are trying to keep alive along with the efforts that they do. It's one of the oldest community foundations in the country. And while we are seeing a lot of companies or organizations no longer use words like racial equity and inclusion. That has not changed at the Indianapolis Foundation, and they're continuing with that mission. We'll find out why. We'll find out what it is that they do and what they're asking of you as we talk with Lee Riley Evans. She is here in studio from the Indianapolis Foundation. Miss Evans, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I appreciate being here.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for what you do. Tell us, for people who have not heard of the Indianapolis Foundation, what is it?
Indianapolis Foundation is one of the 92 counties community foundations in Indiana. We're the oldest and probably close to even the largest community foundation in the state of Indiana. We have assets that are managed from donors that we advise on what to do with their funds and support certain grassroots organizations or institutions that are nonprofit here in Indianapolis. And so our focus is Marion County, and we provide grants that center the community to make sure that there are opportunities for everyone, regardless of race, place, or identity.
The foundation exists to really do what?
The foundation exists to support the community, to support a thriving Indianapolis, and to make sure that opportunity gaps are closed so that everyone is successful, everyone has the opportunity to thrive. We want it to be the best Indianapolis possible. And with the support of our donors and or other organizations, nonprofit organizations specifically, grassroots organizations, we're making that possible. And so we grant funds to those organizations to do the work.
For people who don't know, and they're like, okay, so how is the Indianapolis Foundation connected, if any, to the city operations of Indianapolis?
That's an interesting question. We help administer some funds. There are dollars that are driven toward preventing crime and preventing violence in the city of Indianapolis, known as the Elevation Program. So we are engaged to make sure that it is a nonpartisan issue, and as opposed to the city managing those funds, Indianapolis Foundation administers those funds. We review the grant applications from the grassroots organizations. We score. We engage with site visits. We do studies to identify how much or the impact of obesity is having on the community for a different funder. We support the city in the implementation of the birth fund, and so we will hold the funds that people want to donate. And as the example of the birth fund, it costs $20,000 for a woman to be supported for 3 years. And so those funds can come to us, and then we make sure that they are distributed in partnership with the Bridge Project to the citizens here in Indianapolis. And so we're a conduit, we're a convener, we're the community's voice in making sure that dollars are distributed equitably and without partisanship.
And that's where I was going next. You answered that question in a really nice way. The other part of it is that mayors come and go. City county councilors come and go. Their ideology comes and goes. But the Indianapolis Foundation is going to outlast. It's a constant that outlasts all of them.
We're constant. We're consistently there, and we continue to center the community. in the voice of our grant making.
And it's a good way, I mean, there's politics and everything, but that's a good way to keep politics out of it. You don't have to, okay, well, we have a new mayor, so let's change what we are about, what we are trying to accomplish. It stays the same. And so as the administrations change, people still know, hey, the Indianapolis Foundation is about X, Y, and Z, and they are looking for these type of requirements to get funding, that they may hold things that they believe in. It does not change.
Correct. I mean, people come and go in terms of staff, and even our governance structure. Our board members have term limits, and so there are some changes and things that happen. Our leadership was recently identified with a new president, so some priorities may enter the conversation that be different than older priorities, but consistently our foundation has been opportunities for everyone.
So you guys are always working on a number of things. You are now working on something called the Forward Movement. What is that?
Well, Forward Movement is a digital app. It is actually a rebrand of an existing tool that historically was known as Movement 10,000. And so before it was popular, or we had this racial awakening, maybe like 2020. Before that, the Indianapolis Foundation was already on a racial equity journey. And so for the last more than 10 years, based on data and educating our staff and our board, undoing racism was a priority for the foundation. And they created Movement of 10,000. I say they because I wasn't on staff at the time, which was a learning device to take others on the racial equity journey. Primarily at that time, it was focused on white people because we understood that it was not a black person's responsibility to make white people feel good, to make white people understand the systemic racism and all of its consequences. And so Movement of 10,000 was created to give them the resources and the information to understand the history of racism, to understand the consequences of systemic racism, and how to be more equitable in their practices, how to engage with others, and learn what to do to be better allies. Through the years, as staff has changed, there was not as much energy put into keeping Movement of 10,000 dynamic. And so it went dormant for a year or so. And so at the beginning of 2025, our goal was to refresh that brand, to challenge people to continue to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion in a space where it was starting to almost be criminalized. And you definitely were scared if you needed to have the word equity removed, if you were going to lose your job because you were in the DEI space. And so we took it as a part of our charge to reintroduce the idea to people who had stopped thinking about it or who were scared to talk about it. And so we rebranded Movement 10,000 to Forward Movement. And so that launched officially in September of this year, adding new content, changing the format, being more focused on bite-sized learning. We know that TikToks and podcasts are more popular now than they were 5 or 6 years ago. So adding a little gamification, if you will, to encourage and incentivize people to use the app on a regular basis. There's space for you to journal now. There's space for you to just interact with others. There's a calendar that you can save to your device if you wanted to. There's more focus on the mobile function as opposed to the website function. So that's what Forward Movement is. It is still a racial equity learning journey on your phone. And
there are people who are listening who are saying, okay, but she know, is Governor Braun going to hear about this and snatch the title away? You talked about 2020 and how that was the time when, there were protests and there were riots across the country and everybody wanted to talk about racial equity and it was cool and people were updating their logos and everybody from Target to Walmart to the TV station to Facebook, whoever.
It was a great money-making opportunity.
Yeah. It was something that, it was cool. And as you said a moment ago, now it's something that it's literally almost criminalized to where you better not. we'll pick on Indiana Black Expo that has always had the Indiana Black and Minority Health Fair. They had to change their name to the Indiana Health Fair this year.
Yeah.
Explain to people why you guys are not feeling threatened or criminalized and are really going full force, still in that mission that was cool 5 years ago.
Well, I will offer that it's important to do your due diligence. It doesn't mean be ignorant. We reviewed our website, make sure that we are passing the smell test, if you will. We don't want to put a target on our back for Governor Braun. I anticipate that he is aware. We have a lobbyist at the State House, and so we're making conversations, but mostly our priority is to make sure that people are educated. We're not taking sides, regardless of the aisle that you're on. We'll have a conversation with Governor Braun just as we would have had a conversation with another governor if there had been a different governor in Indiana. So if Governor Braun is aware, we want to make sure that he understands that our objective is to educate and engage and mobilize the community. We're not telling them to think something is right or wrong or take a position. We want to make sure that they understand the consequences of history. We want to understand that those consequences have implications for our current and present day practices. And we want to make sure that people can resist the fear and because they have some understanding of where it comes from and what it means.
Well, and also the other part is, I brought up Governor Braun because he would say that you can't use state funds for these things. You guys are built a little bit differently.
Yes. Thankfully, we're primarily funded privately. And so we don't have the same constraints as it relates to government funding. And so we're hearing from those organizations who do have those constraints, and many of them are dealing with increased need because funding has been delayed or disrupted. And so that's the other reason that we want to make sure that people understand the consequences of not celebrating inclusion. We want everybody to excel and have an equitable opportunity to thrive. And so that's, again, why forward movement is so important to us. We have to keep moving forward so that we don't become victims to fear and repeating damaging practices that eliminate equitable opportunities for everyone.
So, as part of forward movement, you guys are having a guest come to town.
Yes.
Somebody who lives and breathes these topics. Dr. Eddie Glaude will be here on November 20th at the Children's Museum. The event's free and open to the public. What is happening at this event, and why is Eddie Glaude coming?
Well, he is coming, again, similar to the conversation we were just having, to emphasize the power that we all have to make change and to not exist stagnantly because we're scared of making those changes. It's not about partisanship. It's about understanding the positions that we hold to make things different. And if we're not satisfied with what's happening, we are the ones responsible for making that change. We literally are the leaders, as the title of one of his recent books dictates, that we're looking for, that we can make the difference. And it helps when you are educated and understand. And so learning the history of systemic racism, understanding how important it is to vote, knowing what your representation is at the State House, those are all things that we'll be talking about. Making it localized, understanding about the implications of the federal bills and the tax policies and how they relate to Indianapolis is what we'll have in conversation when we host him next Thursday.
All of those topics are things that, one, you need a little education behind to understand that your vote still does matter. Your vote is connected to your quality of life. People who are, you want people in office who are going to support the quality of life that you want to have for your city. Some days I feel like people are like, and they're missing it. Like at first, let me rephrase. I think there was a part of this year where I thought people were like, you guys don't get what the consequences of things are. And this year, I feel like people actually are understanding through the variety of reasons and things that we've lived through. People are understanding that my vote does matter, and I need to pay attention to these different things if I want this type of quality of life. How much of Indianapolis Foundation on a regular basis, outside of November 20th, are there opportunities that you guys can educate people on, like, if this is what we want, this is what we need as a people to do to get there? How often does that?
I would say almost daily. We have our community leadership officers who are the ones engaging more regularly with grassroots organizations because they're the individuals that make the funding decisions for grants that are requested. And so on a daily basis, they are encouraging them through their site visits or their review of applications and the feedback that they do with those potential grantees to stay encouraged. We convene organizations that are immigrant serving to understand what legal support is available to them. We're connecting funding partners to figure out how to leverage each other's resources, to consider if merging or acquiring another organization would be to their benefit, as we're all struggling with the reductions in funding and the disruptions to benefits. And so we're doing that on a regular basis, if not daily, in our conversations with nonprofit organizations, with civic leaders, and we want to inspire as well as invest as we are convening those conversations with the community.
When Dr. Eddie Glaude comes, what do you expect him to say about the time we're in and where we need to go from here to achieve the goals that a group like the Indianapolis Foundation wants to see come to life?
I anticipate that some of what he will say is that these times are not unique. I mean, we have found ourselves throughout the past several centuries dealing with versions of some of what we're experiencing today, and I expect him to provide some support as well as touch on the milestones that are similar to where we are and what we have experienced, and to offer some hope for individuals that, one, we can, as a resilient community, withstand what we're doing, but also give us some tangible examples of how we can help change that so that we can continue to thrive and move forward.
The event is free.
It is.
Open to the public. Who should come?
Anyone that's interested and anyone that has a few questions still. I think regardless of age, regardless of politics, regardless of location, even if you're not a resident of Marion County, this could be something that you could take back to your community. I mean, we have issues in Marion County that are the same in Jackson County. Housing and basic costs are exceeding our living wages right now. And so how do we make sure that we challenge our government, our employers, to make sure that living wages match what the cost of living is. And so those are conversations that relate to everyone. And so I invite the general public to come and be a part and listen and learn and maybe network and meet somebody that could help you help each other to have a different space.
Where can we find that Forward Movement app? Is it just on your phone?
It is on the phone. We hopefully will have it on the website soon. But if you go to the Indianapolis Foundation, if you go to forward-movement.org, there are links to both the registration page for the event next Thursday as well as the App Store links. And so whether you have an Apple device or an Android device, you can download that on your phone. And the links for both of that are on forward-movement.org.
Forward-movement, because forwardmovement.org is somebody else's website. So make sure you type in the hyphen when you go, and I'm trying to pull it up.
And for our former users, we refer to them as movers. For our former movers, if they had already downloaded Movement of 10,000, they can just do an update for their app, or they could go to Movement of 10,000 in the Apple Store, the Google Store, and download it there too. It will redirect them to Forward Movement.
Yep, we got it right there on the screen for everybody to see. Download it in your iOS or Android store. And what's the end goal? Like, is this one of those things that we talked about constant? Is this going to be hey, this is our initiative for 2025, and then 2026 we'll have something different? How does this look?
It continues, and so we've had it for the past several years, as I mentioned earlier. This is just a refresh to speak to the current times, and the main objective is to make sure that people are engaged. We want to provide this educational opportunity to take people on a learning journey and to mobilize them within their community to demonstrate some equity in action. And so this is the tool to help them through that.
How can they contribute? Can they help you guys along the way?
They can.
How so?
They can. They could go to the IndianapolisFoundation.org website and make a donation. So general operating support, there are staff, there are developers, and so there are costs even for maintenance and fixing bug issues with the app. So those are ways that they can help. They can provide support to the Indianapolis Foundation if they have funds that they need to be advised on what to do with. We can set up a donor-advised fund holding process for them. If depending on their level of wealth and their level of interest, it doesn't require a significant level of wealth, and so don't want to scare people away. But there are several funds that we have. I know I referenced one earlier with the Birth Fund. There's the African American Legacy Fund. There are all types of funds that if you are interested in supporting the organization, we can help you with that. They can also help by coming to the event next Thursday, being in attendance and hearing and learning and meeting with others, and even just purchasing his book to learn more about his ideas and how they can make a difference in their community if they're not able to come.
Now, on the flip side, if there are folks who are saying, all right, first time I've heard about the Indianapolis Foundation, how can you become what is the first step to searching and finding out how to become a grant recipient?
IndianapolisFoundation.org.
Which I will pull up for everybody to see here.
There are multiple funding rounds depending upon your output or the intended outcomes of your organization, whether that is violence prevention through our Elevation program. That application round actually is closed. We'll be announcing funding for that soon. For individuals that are interested in supporting libraries, we have a fund for that. Go to our website to find more information about that. Youth, arts, education, immigrant legal services, there's funds to support that. And so there are opportunities based on an individual's interest that I think we could identify and plug almost anyone into. And if it doesn't exist, we can work on finding a way to create it.
So I found on the grants page, very easy to find, the Elevation Grant Program, the IF and the Arts, the Immigrant Legal Services Fund, the Indiana Climate and Democracy Catalyst Fund.
Yes.
The Indy Summer Youth Program Fund, and the Library Fund. Let me ask you, especially right now, as we talk about the times we're in, the Immigrant Legal Services Fund, in what ways, I guess, who should be applying or looking into that grant?
Well, I can't speak specifically to the grant round, so I apologize. Fabio Yatako is our point of contact for the Immigrant Legal Fund, and so you could find him also on that website, shoot him an email, and have conversations with him about, is it a match? But individuals who serve immigrants, immigrants who are, organizations who are trying to support each other to make sure that there are resources and advocacy opportunities to have equitable support for documented and undocumented residents of Indianapolis. And so those are the types of individuals and organizations that I think would find that fund useful.
I'm sure you'll learn more, have opportunities to learn more about that. Yeah, obviously, if you go to the website, but also if you show up next week to the Forward Movement conversation, a thriving Indianapolis, hosted by this gentleman here who we watch in the mornings on MSNBC, which actually tomorrow's changing his name to MS Now. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but that's a whole different show. Eddie Glaude will be here in Indianapolis. He'll be at the Children's Museum. There is the date and time. That's Thursday the 20th from 6:30 to 8:30 at the Children's Museum. RSVP, so they know who's coming. They know how many seats to put out. And again, this is free and open to the public.
It is, yes.
And is there a cutoff? If you decide on the 20th, hey, I'm going to go to this, can you still register, or is it just until seats are gone?
Well, you can still register until seats are gone. And so I don't know necessarily what the 20th will look like. So we are encouraging people to register early because seating is limited.
Okay.
We do know that life happens, and sometimes people that have registered won't show up, and so there could be a seat available on the 20th when you come. We have accounted for some overflow seating if numbers get to be too big, but there are some limits in terms of how many people we can accommodate.
Well, I'd be looking forward to hearing what he has to say, so I'd love it if he got to come by here, the podcast, here at Fox 59, and we get to talk about the topics that are near and dear to both the Indianapolis Foundation and him. So, and if nothing else, at the Children's Museum on the 20th.
Definitely. Thank you for the
Lee Riley,
conversations.
thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Cameron.
I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate your insight and letting people know that, hey, even in these scary times, there is still help out there, and there is a group that has not changed their mission despite the fact that it may not be cool anymore.
Yeah, and so just practice a resistance. This forward movement tool is a way to do that, to continue to educate yourself and do it individually, do it collectively with a group, maybe even encourage your organization to take that step.
All right. You can find out more, of course, at indianapolisfoundation.org. That's it for this episode of Fox 59 Tonight. We are here every night at 8 o'clock on Fox 59 Now and on YouTube. I'll talk to you Sunday mornings on the radio on 106.7 WTLC and Hot 100.9 for my radio show, Open Lines. When do I take a break? When do I sleep? I don't know. Until we meet on some show somewhere, good night.